Hi everyone, welcome back to the homestead. I want to share with you guys something that I did a couple of years ago, or I guess I started it a couple of years ago. So I've always had trouble growing berries. I tried, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, haven't been really successful, not as much as I really wanted to. But then what I found out is that our property is really surrounded by wild blackberries. And so while I was fighting to grow my own berries in my garden, I was also fighting to kill the wild berries that were already growing all around my property. So what I did, and if you've watched our channel for a while, you know that this front garden of ours is kind of an herb, flower, just whatever we happen to find, like wild edibles that we find, we put them in our garden as well. And so I planted a couple of those wild blackberry strands just in the garden to see what they do. Now what they did is they absolutely took over like a period of a couple of years. They just entirely covered these two beds, which if you're going to do this, then you definitely want to be careful to make sure that you're keeping those areas contained, because they are very invasive and they're wild. But the result of it is that I have so many amazing wild blackberries. So what we're doing today is my wonderful, amazing husband is, if you see him around here, he is actually helping me pull weeds out of my wild garden. And I'm picking blackberries that I'm gonna go ahead and make some blackberry jam, and I'll have a video on that for you guys later. But I want to encourage you to look around what you have around your property, because I think a lot of times we kill amazing food that God's already provided for us that is just growing wild and free, and we're killing ourselves trying to grow things that maybe don't even do really well in our area. So check your surroundings and see what does well. I'm going to show you some other things that I have growing here in my garden that grow wild in our area, but I've actually placed them inside the garden beds, and I'm using them. So come in and let's check this out. So back here behind me and to my side, I have a lot of dandelions that are growing, and you know that those will grow wild in your own yard. In fact, you're probably spraying with weed and feed and trying to destroy them. Did you know that a dandelion plant is 100% edible? The flowers are edible, the leaves are edible. They're very good for making a detox, liver detox tea. And also the roots are edible. You can roast them, grind them up, and they can be a replacement for coffee. I also have some sorrel that is growing in here. Sorrel leaves have kind of a sour, tangy taste. They are terrific in stews. You can pick them and put them in your salads. So again, something that grows wild. They look like clover, except the leaves are shaped more like little hearts. So if you see something like that growing around your property, that's probably sorrel, and that is completely edible. Another wild edible that grows here in our area is mulberry trees. Now this mulberry tree, my mom actually gave me. She had some mulberry trees where she lived in Missouri, and so she sent a little, it was just a little sucker plant that was growing in her garden, and so she sent this to me and I planted it in the garden. But I have a couple of wild mulberry trees that just started off on their own here around the property. Mulberries taste amazing. They're kind of like a blackberry, but they're sweeter, and they don't really have much in the way of seeds. And so that might be something that you prefer. And you cannot find mulberries anywhere at a grocery store, and they probably are growing in your own backyard and you might not even know it. So mulberry trees, for sure, take advantage of that free food. Plantains. Plantains are so prolific here in the Houston area. They are literally just growing in the sidewalk. We're gonna have to pull these out and get rid of them. But the plantain leaves are fully edible. They actually have a very good flavor to them. They're high in protein. Again, terrific in your soups, in salads. You can eat them fresh. Just munch on them right out of the garden or right out of your yard. You probably have these growing in your yard and you're just thinking these are weeds and they're so annoying and how do I get rid of them? Well, I have a better idea for you. Why not just put them in your salad? I want you to look at this beautiful dock right here behind me. Dock is a lot like sorrel. The leaves are a lot bigger. Obviously, they look almost like spinach leaves. In fact, the whole plant kind of looks like a spinach plant. But much like sorrel. They do have a tangy flavor. In fact, it can be really, really tangy, but they're terrific, again, in salads or stews, and probably grows wild on your property. And so there it is, another edible. One thing that I want to say, and I probably don't even need to mention this because y'all are so smart that I know you would never do this, but in case somebody else is watching, it's important that if you're going to do any kind of foraging, that whatever you pick, you're not picking right off the sides of roads. Cars are going to be driving through there. There's a lot of exhaust and oils from those vehicles that are going to leach into the ground running off the roads. So you don't want to pick anything that's coming right off the roads. The beds that we have, they are quite a few feet away from the road. There's a big ditch between us, and so I'm not worried about those. But you know, just something to note, that if you're going to do any kind of foraging, make sure that what you're eating is actually safe. Also, if you're wondering what I'm wearing on my arms, these are actually gardener's sleeves. So if you're going to be getting your hands through vines and thorny bushes, it probably helps to have something like this on to keep your arms from getting all scratched up. So if this is something that you want to try out, that you want to maybe just look around your property and see what's growing wild, or maybe even put some of these things in your garden, the first thing that I would recommend is make sure that you know what you are actually growing or eating. If you don't have a good app that you can do a search with, then find a good plant identifier app and make sure that you are aware of what plants you're actually eating. You don't want to eat anything that's toxic, but most of these are very easily identifiable, and especially things like the sorrel and the plantains, there really is no mistaking them. So go ahead and find a good app, find out what's growing already around you. It may be free food that you're trying to kill, so don't do that. Put it in your soups and salads. It's a way better way to handle it. Thank you so much for coming along. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, gardening is therapeutic, so happy gardening. Y'all have a blessed day. Bye-bye.